we live? Are we live? I think we're live. We got a thumbs up before we even cranked up. I sure hope they didn't hear what we were saying before we cranked up. I know that. Hey, what is going on? Welcome back to Your Lake Fort Guide. It's Thursday night. We're going to talk about the best fishing baits for East Texas this weekend. Over here at my boy Z-Dub's crib, where I like to hang sometimes. This is my brother from another mother right here with that yellow and purple. It's a weird color for a dude to wear. But for the next few days.
Big game Monday, baby.
For the next few days and for the next few days only, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
It's the only time you ever going to hear me say, Z, what are you doing back there, son?
Man, I want you to look what ZW's got going on right here.
What do you got?
I got me the back end of a back strap. Look at all them steaks, son. We about to eat good here just a little bit. Y'all look at that. Hold on. Let me bring that over here. Y'all look at them fine deer steaks right there, son. That is back strap.
There you go. We got the Cajun butcher in the house. Drake, your tail almost cut off the live stream. We got the bird dog / deer dog over here. You saw a glimpse of his tail for a second. Zito's back here. Listen, if you don't think there's some redneckery going on around here in this yard, it's just always that way. Let's see who's in the house tonight, man. What's going on? Justice Anderson, Big John in the house, Jordan Spalding, David Thomas, Steve Chastain, the Timmerman. That outdoor lighting, though. You know we do it big. Dusty Newton, Tony Maynard, J.D. Adnip, Justin Ives, Ben Shobe, the Tupperware captain, as he calls himself, Bryant White, Kevin Jones, Jack Attack. Woo! Everybody's in the house tonight, man. Thank you guys for joining us live on a Thursday night. Love, love, love the aspect of social media where we get to come together from sometimes literally on this deal. We've had people from Australia and Puerto Rico, like literally all over the planet to some degree, and definitely all over the country, talking about bass fishing every Thursday night like we like to do. Cali's in the house. California in the house. I mean, California knows how to party, from what my boy Tupac used to say. You know what I'm saying, Zito? You know, we always ask somebody on the podcast now. By the way, new episode of the podcast will be dropping tomorrow morning. Podcast going live. Zach, Tupac or Biggie?
I'm a Tupac.
Yeah. That's like clean sweep in my house. It's all Tupac. I haven't had one Biggie answer on that yet, even with our podcast guests and all that. So, what's up, family? Joe Camarino in the house, Terry Connerly, Tyler Newton. Man, I want to say hi to all you guys. There's no way I possibly can because there's so many of you guys hanging out with us, man. Thank y'all so much. Let's talk about fishing. So, not much has changed. It's still kind of, we're in that stalemate. We're in that winter. Like, as much as winter as we get in Texas, that's where we are. We got some fish that are in the early stages of pre-spawn. We got some fish that are main lake driven that are winter home type fish. And that's kind of what's going on in the cold water lakes. On the hot water lakes, we're basically in a spawning cycle. We're in late March at this point, maybe starting to get into early April, mostly late March. And I'm about to sneeze. Woo!
Be like, you ever seen a predator?
Yeah.
Look here.
Dude is a nut, man, nut. All right, so that's what's going on as far as the spawn goes on that. Now, I'm going to talk to you guys about some baits that will work for both, whether it is hot water lake, cold water lake, pre-spawn, winter home, middle of the spawn. Some of these baits that we're going to talk about today will literally work for all these applications. So on your cold water lakes, these baits can work from now all the way until late March, early April. So these are some baits you need to get familiar with. You need to get really efficient at fishing them so that you can have success, because these baits are important for that whole phase that we're going through. The first bait is going to be a jerkbait. A jerkbait works in the middle of winter. We all know that. It also works all the way, yes, through the spring, into the spawn. It still works very well. Now, I changed colors on y'all this week, and the reason I did is because you guys that are fishing this weekend are going to be faced with some cloudy conditions. So instead of going with the translucent hog walla shad pattern that we talked about last week, this week we're going with one that is known as Shad Craft. It's a more solid body, not translucent at all. It's got a white, it's got a green top, a little bit, well, can't really see it in this light, but usually there's a little bit of a faint orange flash on the bottom. But anyway, Shad Craft. I like my shad patterns that have either green or brown on the back. For me, you know, I know kind of the normal deal is a little bit of blue or gray, but I've always had better success on the ones that have a little hint of green or brown on their back. So, when you have cloudy conditions and it's time to throw a jerkbait like it is right now, pick up the more solid colors, less translucent colors. Another one, the Drake tail came through again. Another one that would be really good is that red one. Ditchweed would be a great jerkbait to throw this weekend, no doubt about it. It looks weird. People are like, dude, do you really catch fish on like goofy looking jerkbait? It's ugly as hell. It catches them. Like, literally one of our viewers caught a 13-pounder on it. You guys saw some camera a couple weeks ago catch some fish on it. That red jerkbait works. It's crazy, but it works.
It's the right time of year for that color, too.
It's the right time of year for that color in this region. There's no doubt about that. Another bait that will catch them from now until March on any fishery you want to go to is going to be a jig. And this is going to be different, a little different than our black and blue. And you know, 6 Cents, they have a way of doing things just a little bit different that tend to make things better. And man, I'm a fan of this jig color right here. This is a great color. This is going to be called, I think it's dark proof. Dark proof. There's one called Dark Water Special and one dark proof, and I like it. And what it is it's kind of a mixture of all the jig colors I like to throw from now until through spring. Like we do throw a jig in the spring.
That's right.
Flipping it up shallow and such like that. So this jig is going to have green pumpkin with a little bit of blue flake on the top and black and blue on the bottom. So what that's going to do is give me that black and blue flash, that black and blue color that works really well right now in the colder water. That black and blue seems to be the deal. But as you get towards spring, we tend to throw a little bit more green colors. And this is a jig you can pick up right now, dark proof, 3/8 or ½ ounce flipping jig, hybrid jig from 6 Cents Fishing. Pick that up, tie it on, and leave it tied on through the spring.
Man, I was just about to say that bait is so versatile that you could literally fish it from Christmas, because you know you're gonna get something for Christmas. From Christmas through spring. I mean, it's just
theoretically
awesome.
you can fish it year round.
You could fish it year round.
You could fish it year round. Another bait that will work right now. Yes, this bait will work right now. Especially, you won't have this situation this weekend, but I faced this situation this week where we had some days that were clear and calm. And those shallow fish, once they move back towards the backs of these creeks, like some of them are, even when you get post-frontal, they don't leave, they just get harder to catch. And the best way to catch them, in my opinion, when it gets calm and bright, is to pick up a stick bait like this 6 Cents clout stick bait, green pumpkin or black or blue flake. Either one of those works really good. My two favorite colors this time of year. But that clout stick bait, I'm going to tell you guys, there's something special about it. You'll see some video of me next week catching fish on it that was just filmed recently. There's something about that clout stick bait. It just gets bit more than other stick baits do. And if you ever rig it up on a 3 or 4 out EWG and watch it fall, you'll kind of know what I'm saying. There's a little different shimmy, a little more realistic action than what you see on your normal stick baits. Woo! Springtime, I'm finding out. It's not springtime.
Man, get it out.
A little bit more warmer weather.
We got a front blowing in tomorrow.
I know, 70-something degrees tonight, so the allergies are kind of kicking my butt a little bit. Now, the next one is going to be the new Divine Shaky Worm. Now, we just got these in this week. There's a 6.3 inch size that is more like the straight tail worm you're used to seeing, more like a Zoom trick worm size-wise. And then there's this one that's 7 inches, which is how long a Zoom trick worm is supposed to be. But this worm is bigger. And this was my first week throwing this bait as I throw it on the ground. This was my first week throwing this bait on a Wacky rig, the way ZW is so famous for throwing it. But Wacky rigging this with a half a nail weight in the head and a Wacky hook in the middle. And I was worried that this worm was going to be a little bit too big, because I'm so used to throwing the smaller worms on that deal like we always have. But they bit the heck out of this thing, Wacky rig. I was really excited because we caught the fire out of them. So a Wacky rig obviously is always going to be a good bait.
One thing I want to bring up, and
go ahead,
and it's what you
listen. You're not a guide or anything, but you know more about the Wacky worm than I do.
I want you to put some input and tell the viewers what you told me about the dependability of that worm. How many fish you catch on one of the worm?
The first day I used it, I caught 10 fish on one worm, Wacky rigged.
That's crazy.
With no O-ring.
That is unheard of.
With no O-ring. So, and it was kept like they were biting it, Jack. Like it was like automatic when you threw that thing out there. It was really good. So, yeah, that's not 5 baits, that's 4 baits. But those are 4 baits that I really want to talk to you guys about baits tonight that you can use on both the power plant, because I think there's a lot of people doing both. I think there's people that want to fish the cold water lakes. They want to figure out the wintertime bite. They want to head hunt and go for the big ones a little bit. But I think there's a lot of people that want to go have fun and catch a lot of fish, and they're going to the power plant lakes. Well, here's 4 baits that you can take to, that we've caught fish on cold and hot lakes this week alone. And you will be able to literally use these baits on the cold lakes from now until the end of March, early April, mid-April, something like that. So these are 4 baits that you can tie on, start learning how to use them, start being efficient with them. And I think it'll really improve your catch rate for this year, for 2020.
I agree.
You can throw something anytime you want. That was the end of my little run there. Lord knows I've been known to do some rants this week. I don't know. I've been kind of in a rant type of mood this week.
Been in a rant mood, B-Law. It's all right, though. Hey, you got to cut loose every now and then.
I'm not real good at leaving things unsaid, Z-Dub. You know that about me. You know that about me.
I do know that.
I'm pretty blunt. Drake, watch that tail, son.
Get over here.
Look at old Drake. Old Drake hanging out with us tonight. That's old bird dog right there now.
He had to go get shots today.
Had to go get shots.
Yeah.
He's probably feeling like he needs some attention, feeling sorry for himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what us guys do when we get sick or something like that. So, but no, I'm not good at leaving anything unsaid.
You know, and I think I'm not going to speak for any of our viewers, but excuse me, I'm not going to speak for any of your viewers.
You can say y'all. You're part
viewers,
of the family at this point, Z.
I mean, look at the attendance tonight. Look at the attendance for of your other live stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know, I personally appreciate that. I'm always going to know where B-Law stands.
That's true.
Whether that's to my face or on a video.
I'm pretty good at removing all doubt. I'm
Absolutely.
pretty good at that. So let's see if we got any questions. I want to answer some questions. The old jackhammer is working good this week as well for me. Yeah, jackhammer, yeah. Listen, anytime you want to throw a chatterbait in the cold water, you cannot fault that. We actually did an article on Facebook and LinkedIn today. You can find that article in both places. And yeah, that jackhammer's never a bad bait to throw this time of year.
Mm-hmm. Money.
What's my favorite creek in mid-February? Well, I will tell you this. We have this thing called the Fish Life app. And I don't have a favorite creek. I'm real diverse as far as I'll fish the entire lake in one day sometimes. Like I'll run from one end to the other. I've been known to do that. There are guys that kind of stick to the west arm of Lake Fork, and there's guys that stick to kind of the east arm. I'm not that guy.
This dude right here will burn some gas.
I'll fish all over the lake wherever I think is best. So my favorite creek in February, I don't really have one. It's going to depend on what the bite's doing, what the conditions are doing. I really, really try to be open-minded and do my best to fish the conditions each and every day I'm out there. I try. It's hard when you fish the lake for years like I have on Lake Fork. But I try my best to not fish history as much as possible, because I think that's a good way to cost yourself a lot of money and to miss things for long, to be on a slump for a longer period of time. Like if you're more open-minded and you'll fish the conditions, then you may have a bad day or two, but you'll kind of find your way out of it quicker. Whereas if you're like, man, I know they come in here in February, dude, if they don't come in there in February, if they're getting too much pressure that year in February in that creek, like you might waste the whole month. Yeah. So I'm not that way, but one thing I will say, if you want to know where I'm fishing or what I think is the best areas to fish in February, you need to subscribe to the Fish Life app, Lake Fork package, premium package in February. Because whatever it is that I think is the best will be on that app. That's what we do. We update the Fish Life app every single month. We have premium packages on individual lakes. I do Lake Fork, of course, and I always update that at minimum once a month on where I think the best areas are to fish on Lake Fork. So that's the easy way for you to find out exactly what I know and what I think is best right now. I could tell you what I think my favorite creek will be in February today, but that don't mean that's what it's actually going to be come February. Where are you going to start throwing that curve 55 finesse and Tiger Truce? When? I think he meant when. When is right now. Right now is a great time to shallow crank, especially when we start getting a warming trend. Like maybe not today. I'd rather throw a jerkbait or trap or something. As soon as we get a warming trend, a little bit of a warming trend, that curve finesse square bill is going to be a big player. I personally believe. I know you don't even know about this bait yet, but there's a new little square bill. It's a little finesse square bill. It has a lot of crazy action to it, and I think that's going to be a real player once we get a couple warming trends or one big warming trend, and moving forward to the spring, it'll be a big player. So the big deal for warming trends that you got to look at is not, everybody wants to say, well, man, it was 75 degrees 3 days in a row. Yeah, but dog, it was 35 at night.
Right.
So that water warmed up in the day and then it cooled off at night. It warmed up in the day and it never really made progress. When you get the nighttime temperatures that are warmer than the water temperature, so if the water temp is 50 degrees and you have 2 or 3 nights in a row where it never drops below 50, that water never cycles down. So during the day, the water temp climbs and then it stabilizes overnight, and it climbs again and stabilizes. And that's where you start making a lot of progress in water temps. And that's what really heats up those shallow backwater areas, those flat, big expanses of shallow water really heat up at that time. And then fish run to the back of that when that happens. And then something that has an erratic action that'll still make them react and bounce off cover and all that, that's when that bite really gets going.
Well, and this is the best time of year to fish those areas because they are predictable. You know, you'll have a warm front on the tail end of that warm front where the nights are warmer than the water, so you can kind of guesstimate in your head, hey, Thursday and Friday may be really good up there shallow. You know, it's tougher in the summer because it's always warm. It's all, you know, fish just get scattered out.
Well, and it's tougher in the spring and fall because it's always doing this.
Yeah.
It's all, you know, but when you get that steady climb, you know they're running to the back. And then on the reverse of that, when you get that hard cold front, you know they're going to pull back a little bit.
That's right.
It does make it a little bit more predictable to find out where they're positioned, so we like it. Do I have any opens in February, March, or April during a weekday? I don't have any in March or April. I do have some in February. Throughout the month of February, I have 3 or 4 dates left scattered throughout February, and I don't know them off the top of my head. But if you contact us at yourlakeforkguy.com, we can get you lined up on that. Tigers will win the championship 100% guaranteed. That's what he says.
Yeah. Yeah.
Z's like, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Not yet. Don't say it yet.
You know why he said that, right?
Mm.
There's 2 Tigers playing in the national championship. Clemson Tigers and LSU Tigers.
Oh, well, I
That's
guess
why.
you ain't even worried about it. I didn't even think about that. Do you like the stroker crawl in all water conditions and temps? Yes. For many reasons. It's kind of a complicated answer, and I saw somebody earlier. I did see where you asked what my jig trailer. My jig trailer is the stroker crawl. Now, I'm trimming some of the head of that stroker crawl off to make it a nice compact profile on my jig. But the stroker crawl, if you look at it when it's sitting there, those arms kind of fold up like this, and it looks like a good crawl bait. And when you're fishing that jig real slow, like we do this time of year, and you're dragging it, it has thin enough. The appendages are thin enough that it'll stay folded up, and it'll kind of do this. Those arms are kind of, with a very little water pressure, those arms will still kind of undulate because they're thin arms. Mm-hmm. They're thin, so little water pressure makes them kind of do this little waving action, which is what you want when you're crawling that jig. You just want them to kind of do this. But when it falls quick, okay, so in the summertime when I need to stroke it or drag it a little faster or snap it or hop it, when I add that extra oomph to the action or put it on a heavier jig and make it fall faster, those arms unfold and swim like a rage crawl or something like that. So it kind of does both. It does the chunk action that you want in the wintertime, like a chunk does when you're fishing it slow. But when you fish it fast, it acts like a kick and swimming type crawl. And the first thing I said when I first pulled that bait out of the package, I went, that's the best jig trailer that's ever been made right there.
Now, will you ever put that on a swim jig, or are you only throwing the paddle tails on your swim jigs?
No, there is a time and place. So I like paddle tails on my swim jigs when I'm swimming them down in the water column. But there's a time when I'm fishing over flooded vegetation or through heavy cover with a swim jig.
And that's when you want both of the kickers.
Yeah,
right there.
and I want a crawl type bait. Well, the stroker crawl is perfect for that. It's perfect for that. And I'll throw it on there, and it almost works a lot like, basically it's a heavy cover. It's a bait that I can throw and fish like a horny toad or a ribbit frog, okay? Except I can fish it in heavier cover on bigger line, bigger rod, braid, and I can really handle big fish in heavy cover with it. Whereas on a horny toad, I kind of have to throw it because it's so light. I have to throw it on a smaller rod with smaller line.
That makes sense.
So I like throwing a swim jig in that situation. When I'm fishing a swim jig real fast over flooded vegetation, yeah, that's when I throw the crawl on there.
I got you.
Still throwing the Alabama rig, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Alabama rig is always a good bait to throw in the wintertime. Those fish, because the weather kind of got warm and then cooled off, a lot of those fish kind of scattered. They're not as grouped as they were when it was just straight cold like it was in November. Oh my goodness, my nose is killing me. But yeah, Alabama rig should still be something that you're thinking about. Just, we were going out there and kind of, once you found them, you caught them every cast for a little while. That's not really the deal. You're picking off one at a time now. And throwing an Alabama rig all day to pick one fish at a time off is hard work.
It is hard.
Not a lot of people like doing that. What would be your go-to Saturday if we get lots of rain Friday and Friday night? My fish have been shallow from 1 to 5 foot deep. Well, if your water muddies up real bad and you get real off-colored water, the first thing I would do is in that 1 to 5 feet, you got to find the elevation change. And it doesn't have to be a big elevation change, especially those fish that are in that 1 or 2 foot. But you need to find some type of a drop-off for those fish to relate to, because they're going to suck back to that, guaranteed. Like, guaranteed they're going to suck back to that. So what you got to do is find that elevation change. And then what I would do is I would concentrate on reaction baits. For me, I'm a power fisherman, so I'm going to go to a moving 80X. I'm going to go to a square bill, Crush 100 square bill, something like that I can bounce off the wood and get hard deflections off of. I'm also going to throw a chatterbait, and I may even flip that jig in there a little bit. But those are kind of that's if my water got dirty and off-colored, it's not going to be calm Saturday, or I would say get a black and blue clout stick bait and throw that. It's not going to be calm. It's going to be windy. So in that case, Movement 80X is your best friend. That's my number one that I'm going to pick up. Then it's going to kind of be a chatterbait or another type of square bill or something like that. Another one.
How about a lipless?
Yeah, but you don't want to fish that in those drop-offs because those drop-offs usually have stumps.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Those drop-offs usually have a lot of timber. Now, if you can get away with fishing the lipless in that area, I don't think that's a bad idea either. Here's one that we don't talk about a lot. A spinnerbait with big blades.
Good time.
That might be the best one to throw in that situation with that dirty water. When that water gets dirty, you get a spinnerbait that has really big blades and just keep that blade barely turning, just thump, thump, thump. Like, that can be a real big player.
Now, are you putting a paddle tail on your swim bait trailer, or more of like a
I never put anything on a spinnerbait.
Nothing.
I fish a spinnerbait just like it comes in the package. I add a trailer hook. That's all I do. I know there's people that put swim baits on. I don't. To me, a spinnerbait, especially those big bladed spinnerbaits, those 3/8 ounce big bladed spinnerbaits, number 5, number 6 willow blade, or the big Colorado blades, that's a big profile bait already. I don't need to add anything to it. I don't think they're ever going to think that's a real fish. So I don't need to add a swim bait to make it look more realistic. I mean, it's a bunch of damn metal blades clanking on each other. They don't think it's real.
Right.
It's a reaction deal, but it is already big profile, so I don't need to add bulk to it. That's just how I think about it. It just doesn't. I don't think it adds anything to the bait, so I don't put it on there. And if anything, all it's going to do is get in the way of them hooking up on my treble hook when they slap at it. You know, if they're biting it a little finicky and they're not really getting it, well, that swim bait could potentially get in the way of my treble hook hooking that fish, or my trailer hook hooking that fish.
Yeah.
Size blade, I prefer a willow blade. I like a number 5 or number 6 willow blade on my spinnerbaits this time of year. That's what I use. Most people use a Colorado in that dirty water condition. I prefer to use the big willows. Gold. I have a specific spinnerbait, a really specific spinnerbait that I throw. It's a chartreuse and white skirt. It's a number 5 or number 6 gold willow blade, 3/8 ounce War Eagle with an orange Colorado blade in front of it. That's the one I throw this time of year. I've let that cat out of the bag the last couple of years, but that's one that's done me a lot of good over the years.
And apparently they don't sell them out in East Texas, because every time ZW's on the way out to the lake, I get a call, hey, stop and get me about 8 or 10 of them.
That's right.
That's right. I buy Bass Pro out.
So
if you ever wonder where they are, they in his boat.
The deal is, with a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait head, a number 5 or especially number 6 willow blade, there's not very many spinnerbaits on the market that'll run true with that big of a blade and that light of a head. But that War Eagle runs true, and you can fish it so slow.
You can feel the thump almost.
I mean, I think the orange and the chartreuse and white, all that color in the dirty water, I think that's a big deal. But really the deal is the ability for me to fish it that slow with that big blade on there. That's the deal.
Who want to come over and eat some deer steak?
I mean, I'm here. That's what I'm waiting for, that stuff to start cooking, baby. I'm waiting to hear that grease popping, old son. Jared Carson says he finally got the FXR ordered and will be here first week of February. Excited to finally have a boat.
Congrats, brother.
O-line friendly. Oh, I know Jared Carson. So him and his brother and his dad fished with me this spring, and we talked about this, I think, last week. It was literally like having a good start to an offensive line in the boat. Like, it was 4 big old boys. Because you know me, like, I'm down a little bit now. I'm still in the 240 range, but at that time I was about 280, and I was probably the smallest one in the boat.
Wow.
It was a lot.
I remember you calling me that day, saying, man, we about sunk the boat.
It was, it was a lot of meat. But the old FX handled it, and that FXR handled it too. That's funny, Jared, because my FXR is supposed to be here. It was supposed to be here at the end of January. I actually found out this week. It will be the 1st of February when mine is here. So we will both have new FXRs probably the same week. Oh, another announcement that I forgot to tell you guys. We do our seminars, free seminars, every other Friday night. Tomorrow night there is no seminar. It's an off week. The next Friday night there is a seminar, but it's going to be at Fun and Sun in Hurst, Texas. So I'm going to be over there on the stage at Fun and Sun, somewhere between 6 and 8. I don't know. I've got to get with Monty and figure out what my time slot's going to be. But Friday night at Fun and Sun Boat and Tackle Show, come on out. We'll have a live seminar there. I'll be there. I'll be hanging around the Smash Tech booth unless I'm on the stage. Come see me, man. I'd love to meet all you guys that sometimes don't get to come to Lake Fork Marina, not in the Lake Fork area. If you're in DFW, come see me in Hurst, Texas at Fun and Sun next Friday, sometime between 6 and 8. And follow the Facebook page and everything else, Instagram. And as soon as I find out the time that I'll be talking, I'll be sure and post that so all of you guys know. What depth are you running the jerk through? Well, I'm going to run that jerkbait through a lot of depths. I'm going to want to have at least 5 or 6 foot of depth to fish it, because it will get down there 4 to 5 foot. So I don't want it bumping bottom. I don't want it. I have grinded it across points. That's not really my thing. I feel like I get hung up a lot. Ronnie Kelly's a better jerkbait fisherman than I am, for sure. And he will do that. I don't like doing that. I like fishing it off the bottom a little bit. But I will fish it as deep as in like 12 to 15 foot, because one thing about a jerkbait's one of the few baits out there that even when it's cold, fish will travel up to get it.
Yeah.
They will come up to get it. And a lot of times this time of year, fish will suspend off the bottom a little bit. And then, of course, the jerkbait works really well.
Well, and you're wanting to position your jerkbait above that fish. So if you see, so if you're in 20 foot of water, if you see fish suspended up in 12 foot, then you want to try to keep that bait around 8 foot or something.
Absolutely.
Make them come up and pop it.
And on top of that, if fish are really shallow, somebody just dropped some money in the super chat. Hey, holla at you, boy, who that is. MC Gruff.
MC Gruff.
What's up? He said, what's up, Big Worm? I mean, Big Perm. So,
Smoke dog, baby.
I grew up fishing Lake Conroe.
Yeah.
Which has a lot of shallow water areas in it. Not a lot of the more popular areas down south aren't really that way. But if you travel north on Lake Conroe, it has a lot of backwater, shallow water type areas in it. And, you know, as a young guy growing up, not when I was a little kid, we didn't do this a lot, but, you know, as I got to growing up, one of the things that worked really well in Lake Conroe was throwing that old floating rogue. Floating, rattling rogue jerkbait. Yeah, you had the silver, the chrome side with the black back and orange bottom. Also, the clown color was a really big deal because Conroe can be a real muddy lake. Mm-hmm. But if I'm wanting to fish for jerkbait fish and they're shallow, they're in that 1 to 5 foot, man, I like that floating rogue. I mean, I know I'm sponsored by 6 Cents and I love 6 Cents. But when them fish are in a couple feet of water and you're wanting to throw a jerkbait at them, that floating rogue is the deal, Jack.
Look, 6 Cents is balls to the wall, man. They are top notch.
And they're making just about everything you could ever need right now at this point. They've really expanded and done. They make a lot of stuff.
I mean, but that rogue is OG.
Yeah,
that rogue is OG.
Some things you just can't take out of the game. And that rattling rogue, that floating rattling rogue is definitely one of them.
Now, I got a 6 Cents question because I don't know as much about the jerkbaits, but do all 6 Cents jerkbaits float? Suspend, or do they make a floater?
No, they have floating and suspending.
They do make a floater.
Floating and suspending. Heath Taylor's in the house. Smash Tech Bait says,
"What up, Heath?
There are going to be some stupid deals at the Fun and Sun show in the Smash Tech booth. I'm sure is what he's talking about." And a little bird told me, if you want Smash Tails or Smash Tail Juniors, you better get them quick.
Heath, how we get Z-Dub on that Smash Tech Pro staff? I mean, you know, I'm having to steal baits out of Billy's boat.
He's lying because he's on it. He just goes in my boat and gets what he wants.
I think that puts me on the Billy Lawson Pro staff. I want to be on that Heath. Hey,
he wants it official.
Holler at your boy, baby.
He's trying to make it official. Chartreuse and white chatterbait with white paddle tails, killing them on Conroe right now. Hey, I love the fish and spinnerbait. It's one of my OG. They talk about OG bait. That old big bladed spinnerbait's an OG bait. If we can make all the chatterbaits we want in the world, and I primarily have replaced a spinnerbait with a chatterbait for most part, but there's still a place, like you said, I always make you buy them for me when I'm not over here, when you're coming that way. There's definitely a place in my boat for that cold water, orange bladed, big gold willow blade spinnerbait. It's an OG bait that I'll never let go. I was fortunate enough to kind of figure that deal out many years ago. And was throwing that orange bladed spinnerbait before it was kind of a thing to throw that orange bladed spinnerbait. And I caught just gobs and gobs of fish, but now it's kind of a thing to throw it, but I'll never replace that. That's a special bait for me. It's caught a lot of big fish for me. What's in the cup? What's in the cup? There's a little, what I tell this, when my son asks me what's in there, I say, son, that's grown-up juice. You can't drink it. That's what it is, grown-up juice.
Big boy Kool-Aid.
This is Crown Black and Sprite. That's what's in this cup. What you got in your cup?
I got me a little.
Not much. Not much.
This is a little Crown salted caramel on the rocks, baby.
There you go. I don't drink a whole lot. Zach will test that. I really don't drink a whole lot, but for some reason, every time me and him get on a patio, whether it's my house, his house, the lake camp that you have, when we get on a patio, there's an adult beverage ad. Like, that's just how it is.
Man, I got some news to share.
Some news to share. Talk to me.
Man, Rich dropped a bomb on me today that they might be looking to sell.
What?
Yes.
They might have to sell it to me because we ain't losing that deco, son. He going to have to sell it to me because we ain't getting rid of that, Jack.
Rich, Mama Sheila, keep the camp.
Rich is his father. My adopted father, by the way. What's your thoughts on using Big Perm as a weighted wacky rig? I mean, why not? It's a giant trick worm.
Drake, hush.
Drake going off back here.
You talking about Big Perm? Wacky?
Big Perm, wacky.
I would definitely, a couple of things just to point out right off the bat. You're going to need to use the whole nail weight.
Because it's no salt, like it wants to float.
That's right. I don't see anything wrong with it. Like if you throw it in 8, 10, 12 foot of water, you know.
Well, here's what else I would think too is as we get close to springtime, and especially lakes like Fork that have all these big fish in it, when a high percentage of them big fish get really shallow, I think it's a really good idea. You know,
it ain't a bad idea.
I used to take, people like the wacky rig Senkos in the springtime. Well, I used to always purposely go out and buy the bigger size Senkos in the springtime on Fork because you can go out there and flip Senkos and catch bucks all day, shallow. But when I would buy those bigger Senkos, boy, it really seemed like it would. That seemed like, bigger bait, bigger bite is a thing, and it's not always a thing. It's not always a thing. Like right now, it's not really a thing, but it is sometimes a thing. And I think in that case, it was a thing. When I upsized that Senko that I was using back in the day, it upsized my bites.
Right.
my average size bite. I maybe got a few less bites, but I would get some really big bites on that deal. In fact, when I do sight fishing with guide customers a few years ago, what we would do, our routine was we'd go hunting bedfish. We'd get set up on one. I'd have one customer on the front deck flipping to a bedfish while I was in his ear talking him through it. And his partner would be on the back deck throwing big Cincos out in the middle of the pond. And it seemed like every single day, the guy that was throwing the big stick bait off the back deck of the boat caught the big fish of the day. When we're looking for big fish up front, still the biggest one of the day would always come off the back. So I think Big Perm Wacky Rig is a really good thing. I actually wanted to try it this year. I never got around to it. And I don't really know why I never got around to it, other than just the fact of, you know, when it's hard because I have pressure to produce fish every day. So when I got customers in the boat, I'm going to throw what I have confidence in and what I have confidence will work for them. Then I'm filming when I'm not with customers. Well, I have to make sure, because I get 1 day a week to film. Typically, that's my normal routine.
Right.
So I have to make sure that I put fish on camera so I don't get a lot of time to experiment with stuff.
Yeah, just try
like back in the day I used to. And that's one of the things I miss the most. Listen, I'm never taking for granted what I do. I live a dream life that I could never, 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, I would never have imagined that this would be where it is right now. I'm so fortunate and grateful to each and every one of you that watches this content and all of you that book trips, like everything that you guys do. I am forever in debt to y'all. But one of the things that I do miss is the freedom to fish the way I wanted to fish in a more relaxed atmosphere, because now there's pressure every day, and that's the truth. But that was an idea I had originally when I saw Big Perm, was this would be great wacky rigged up shallow in the springtime, and I never got around to trying it. So please, somebody go try it for me this spring and then tell me it works real good so that I can go do it.
Might want to move from a number 1 to a number 2 hook.
Number 2, I would too. I did on those big Cincos that I was using. I used the number 2 hook back in the day. Yep,
Not
sure
the
did.
2-aught.
Not the 2-aught.
Just number 2.
That's right, number 2. That's right. Z drinks the salted caramel so he can float. Have you ever used human food to fish for bass? I've never, ever been accused of that.
Yes.
This Cajun,
Hey.
South Louisiana, this cat, right? Tell us a story, Z. I feel it coming.
Back when I was living in
I
Louisiana,
need a drink anyway.
back when I was living in Louisiana, we used to make one trip a year out to Fork. That was like our big fishing trip of the year. Now that I live out here, my big trip is to Toledo every year. So we was out at Fork, and it was springtime, and we were, you know, bed fishing, doing this and that. And my father-in-law, old Frank,
Yeah, Daddy Frank.
yeah,
Daddy Frank.
he said, "Hey man, watch it." He was just goofing around, and he's a clown anyway. He put a Vienna sausage on a hook and flipped it out there in that bed, and that bass gobbled. And that's after flipping, you know, like a tube bait or something, time and time again. I guess just aggravating that fish. But he flipped. I mean, it's dang near, you know, kind of a light brown, you know, the color of a Vienna.
Yeah.
Flipped it in. I mean, it didn't no more hit the bottom of that bed, and that bass,
Is that right?
boom,
You know,
about 6 pounds.
Oh, Zach Hughes, another one of the. We have so many awesome guys on Lake Fork. Zach Hughes is certainly one of them. Probably the best sight fisherman in East Texas, besides me. No, I'm just kidding. Me and Zach have a little rivalry on that, but no, Zach Hughes is the best sight fisherman I know of, and he won a bet with a customer one time. He bet him $100 he'd catch that bedfish with a Cheeto.
A Cheeto.
He put a Cheeto on a Texas rig with a hook and flipped in there and caught that bedfish on the Cheeto.
Wow.
Yep, that's a true story. That's a true story. John Didney wants to know what time the steaks are going to be ready. As soon as I'll shut up and make him start cooking, it'll be about, what, 20, 30 minutes after that.
Like we got to beat them down real good, get them seasoned up, get that grease to about between 350 and 370.
Man, listen, I love y'all and I owe y'all, but we got to go because I'm getting hungry. So, hey, man, thank each and every one of you guys so much for joining us tonight. I hope something we talked about tonight and all this craziness that we spit out between me and him, hopefully some of that helps you in some kind of way. We appreciate you watching anyway. Come see me next week, Fun and Sun, Hurst, Texas. Big tackle show, boat expo. A lot of pro tour guys going to be there. It's not just going to be me talking. There's going to be a lot of guys that actually do know what they're doing talking. So come out there and check us out. I'd love to meet each and every one of you. And we'll see y'all next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide. Get 'em, Drake!